The member for Fredericton South and Leader of his party.
Mr. Speaker, successive New Brunswick governments have failed to act on many studies and their recommendations concerning the state of Indigenous affairs in this country and this province. I'm with the Premier on that one. The 1996 Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples, the 1999 New Brunswick La Forêt Nicholas Task Force on Aboriginal Issues, the 2015 Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Actions, and the 2019 Calls to Justice of the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous women and girls. Lots of studies, Mr. Speaker, no action. And now, two Indigenous people, Chantal Moore and Rodney Levi, have lost their lives in the police shootings of the last week. Proportionally, those two lives lost would be like 70 non-native New Brunswickers losing their lives in police shootings. This, by any measure, Mr. Speaker, is a crisis. My question is for the Premier. What real action is he going to take now that he's in the driver's seat? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable the Premier.
So, Mr. Speaker, I certainly want to thank the Green Party leader for his question and his reference to all the previous studies, which he has a more extensive list than even I was aware of, Mr. Speaker. So the point is, let's look at those studies and the recommendations that came out of them. Let's understand why we haven't got some real clear-cut items that could be the top 5 that just need to be dealt with and focused on. So, you know, just as we had a COVID Cabinet Committee as we worked through this pandemic and as we continue to work through this pandemic, maybe we can start on that same process and get some agreement and alignment amongst our parties of what are the next best steps, what are the right priorities to take. And, Mr. Speaker, I would look forward to those discussions. And then we can either present those or in conjunction with the First Nations chiefs be able to decide, okay, here's where we're going to move. Let's have a study done on that item so we find a path forward that actually implements. Mr. Speaker, as I said, it's time for action. Sounds like the Green Party leader believes the same thing. Let's not just repeat the same study that's been done over and over again.
The member for Fredericton South, Leader of his party.
Mr. Speaker, the Premier has said he's going to attend a previously scheduled meeting between members of his Cabinet and First Nation chiefs on Wednesday to listen in light of the police killings of Chantal Moore and Rodney Levi. And under the circumstances, so he should, Mr. Speaker, but the actions that must come need to be a response from this Legislative Assembly, representing all parties and members. And the listing must not be restricted to the band chiefs, but must include elders, grandmothers, and traditional chiefs. The All Nations and Parties Working Group on Truth and Reconciliation, the Premier committed to more than 6 months ago to hold government accountable to the priorities of First Nations, could have played this role, but it has failed to materialize. So the question, Mr. Speaker, to the Premier is, what is the Premier's plan now?
The Minister of Aboriginal Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the question. It's important to note that the meeting on Wednesday was arranged by myself, my department, and the chiefs themselves. The chiefs have been asked to send who they wanted in attendance. They've also been asked to send agenda items. So out of respect and mutual respect for Aboriginal peoples and First Nations, I've agreed to those terms. So the Minister of Social Development, the Premier, the Minister of Justice and Attorney General, and the Minister for Public Safety will be in attendance. And we're looking forward to the meeting. It probably will be on the basis of the inquiry, which I support, and which now I see that others are supporting it too, so that's nice. And we're going to have a good meeting tomorrow, and we're really looking forward to it.